to the A to Z Sports Big Orange Cast. I am Charlie Burris. That is Zach Reagan. Wherever you listen throughout the world, thank you very much for listening to us. We talk everything Vols every week here on the Big Orange Podcast. And if that sounds like something you want to listen to regularly, go over to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed on Apple or Spotify. When you get there, rate, review, but you got to subscribe. If you do subscribe, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Monday. Speaking of Mondays, there's one right now at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That means we are live on YouTube. Go to the A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers YouTube channel and subscribe there. But you got to make sure you hit the notification bell. If you do hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when we go live. So no matter when we go live, like when I go live with post game of the football games, you'll be notified then. You can hop in, be a part of the show, comment. It's always a ton of fun. At Charlie_Burris, at Zach GT on the social. Facebook.com/A2Z Sportsnet. A2ZSports.com. For everything Zach writes on the internet. Boy. I love a good show, Zach, where we get to talk about a Tennessee team that is vastly underperforming. It's always fun. Always a ton of fun, and we get to do it again. We did it last week with the great Will Heflin, former Vols pitcher, and now of our great sponsor, VIP Play. He's over there with VIP Play. We're going to talk about them here in a little bit. But we got to talk about how much this season has kind of took a stinking turn in recent weeks. It was great. Go listen to it if you haven't. But it didn't get a whole lot better this weekend, Zach. Not a ton of fun losing to Vanderbilt. What's up, man?
Yeah, since mid-April, early April, it's been kind of rough times for Tennessee baseball. The drama around the football program with Nico, basketball getting bounced. It's just not been a smooth sailing the last month and a half. But that happens in sports sometimes. Hopefully, we'll get it turned around here soon. There's still plenty to be positive about, I think. We'll search for that here in a minute. But yeah, it's been a rough stretch, especially for Tennessee baseball. And if you didn't listen to that episode with Will last week, he had some great insight that is still relevant even after this past weekend's loss to Vanderbilt.
Yes. So pretty much every single bit of it is so relevant. The only part that's not, I guess, is that we talk about the Vandy series in a future tense, but pretty much everything else stayed true through this weekend, unfortunately. We tried to kind of speak it into existence that things might change, that the bats might come alive, that the fielding might improve, that anything at all, and it just didn't. So we're going to talk about that on tonight's show and run through that. Then we got to talk about Joey Aguilar showing up, Tennessee's new quarterback, or the guy who's in contention to be Tennessee's starting quarterback, has reportedly gotten to campus in Knoxville, and we got to talk about, maybe how exactly he might stack up with the room there now that it's real, now that it's the real deal with him being in Knoxville. We'll discuss that too. Maybe a little bit of basketball, a little kind of odds and ends of what's going on, and that'll be the show for tonight. Now let's get to it, Zach. Baseball. Right after I tell you about the good folks at VIP Play. Now, VIP Play, we've been leading up to. We've been saying they're going to go live. As of today, VIP Play is live in the state of Tennessee. Go download that app. I downloaded it this weekend. It looks great. Stacks up with all the big guys. Seriously, it looks awesome. So go, because VIP Play will offer 200 plus leagues to wager on with all of your favorite bet types. They also have the VIP Players Club sweepstakes. When it was still Zen Sports previously, they were doing these sweepstakes. They were awesome back then. They're going to continue them now, where the plays that you make in VIP Play count as entries to the sweepstakes. So bet assured in the state of Tennessee with the VIP guarantee. With VIP Play, everyone plays like a VIP, and that means 24/7 customer service from real people, earning entries in the Players Club sweepstakes with every bet, and being able to cash out a bet for full stake if the line hasn't changed, plus a whole lot more. And when you sign up with code A to ZTN, that is ATOZTN, you can claim your VIP play welcome bonus when you make your first bet of $5 or more. You'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. That is your first bet of $5 or more and $100 in bonus bets instantly with code A to ZTN. Go use that code and sign up. VIPplay.com is where you can do that, or just search it up in the App Store. VIP Play. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet. VIP Play. Shout out to them. Shout out to Will Heflin and the great job that he did on our show last week.
I love the logo. This VIP Play logo is great. I love it.
It's very cool. Yes. Seriously, the new app, seamless, looks awesome. You got to go download it. I know there were with the Zen Sports app, there were kind of some criticisms of that layout. They have incredibly improved it. Looks awesome now, so go get it. All righty. Vandy came to town to play in Lindsey Nelson Stadium, which for Vanderbilt baseball in recent years has been an absolute house of horrors. Tennessee has owned this series for 5-ish years now. They gave up a couple, weirdly, in Tennessee's national championship year. Vandy actually got Tennessee a couple of times.
They won 2 in a row, really?
Yeah. They won the Sunday of the series and then beat Tennessee in the SEC tournament. I feel like a lot of people forget that because Tennessee won the SEC tournament ultimately, but beat Tennessee in the SEC tournament last year.
I bet we were in panic mode back then. I can't remember now, but I'm sure we were in panic mode after those 2 straight losses.
Yeah, I mean, just where you were thinking like, oh, we've come this far. How are you going to lose to Vandy right now? Yeah, for sure. Then you won the SEC tournament and, a national championship. No big deal. But we were hoping that the fortunes might turn against Vandy. And what it would have done for you if you did win that series, you may have been very close to a top 8 seed, and you pretty much would have completely solidified just hosting. Now, if for folks that don't know, if you're in the top 8 seeds, you host all the way through the super regional. If you're in the top 16, you host just the regional. And Tennessee, if they do not beat Arkansas this weekend in at least 1 game, maybe 2, they're not going to be hosting at all. Most likely. I mean, that chance could be gone. And I'll tell you this, Zach, and this will be the first question I ask you. I mean, it kind of feels like Tennessee's going to get swept, right? Outside of, unless Liam Doyle can have another superhuman performance, which I'll say the chance of that is pretty likely. The dude is just looked crazy good for weeks on end now. But outside of that, I mean, what am I supposed to think at this point?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of reason to feel good about them going down there and winning the series. I don't think they'll get swept. I think they'll get at least 1. Because this team does fight back, right? Like, even on Sunday evening, after they went down late, what was it? They hit the late home run, and it felt like, okay, well, Vanderbilt's really put this thing away now. And they fought back, and they had the winning run on base, tying run in scoring position. It was not a great at bat, but Cannon Peebles had that last at bat where it felt like he was just trying to hit the ball out of the park instead of just putting the ball in play. Like, you put that ball in play, who knows what happens? You're just trying to get a base hit, keep the line moving, tie the game, shorten your swing a little bit. And it's just situational stuff like that where this team's not coming through. I don't think there's this big breakdown where they've run off the rails and it's unfixable. It's just all these little things, and they keep adding up. And, that could change at any moment. But based on what we've seen the last 6 weeks, really since that Texas A&M series where it felt like things really have turned. And that was the turning point of the season, it feels like, was that series after you run-ruled them on Friday night and then just lost those next 2 games. You got run-ruled yourself in the Sunday game. Ever since then, it's like they haven't been able to put it all together. And until they do, it's hard to have confidence. It's hard to have confidence in them, and it's hard to predict that, okay, this is the weekend, as we've been saying that for the last several weeks. Like, okay, it can turn around this weekend, and it just hasn't. So it is to that point where you got to prove it. You got to show us that you can turn it around. Otherwise, yeah, we're going to keep expecting what we've been seeing the last few weeks, which is these spurts of these flashes of what you can be. Usually in a Doyle start, it seems like that's when they play their best. They seem like a different team in general in those starts. And then the other two games, it's lackluster. And Tony Vitello hinted at that after the loss to Vanderbilt on Sunday. It's like Saturdays have to be better. And that's the key, really. That second game of the series is the key, because then Sunday there's no pressure Sunday. If you take the first two games, there's no pressure. The sweep is more likely. And now they're getting into these situations on Sundays where they're pressing, trying to make things happen. They're wanting to win a series so bad, and they're trying to force it, and that's when you don't play good baseball. You're never going to play good baseball when that's your mindset.
Yeah, I think the toughest thing to watch has been that Saturday game. Marcus Phillips throws, and with Phillips, he has good stuff. He has really good stuff, and can be really your second best guy, and I guess that's what it should be when he's your Saturday guy.
And he was great against LSU, except for those two solo home runs.
Yeah, he has absolutely had moments this season where he really showed what he's made of. But the fact is this: if you get a single on Marcus Phillips, you get a triple, because they'll just run with impunity on this guy. It's an instant double. Like, you don't even have to ask. It's you get two bases with Marcus Phillips. And then Vandy got triples multiple times. In fact, they got to third multiple times. And you're just watching it, just going, what? Why don't you just punch me in the face instead of having me have to watch this crap? Like, what are you doing out there? Where, like Will Heflin did say last week, we keep referencing again, go watch it. It really is great. But he told us last week, we asked him about this, and we said, Vandy is a team that'll do this to you big time. They're kind of known for that with the annoying way Corbin coaches baseball. And he said, the exact phrase he used, they concentrate on the war at the plate instead of the battle on the bases.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. Your offense is not good enough to do that. Last year, you got run on last year. It's kind of been a thing with Vitello the entire time because of this philosophy, or whoever it comes from, Frank, Vitello, whoever is doing that. It's been a perpetual thing. But last year, you were putting up like 12 runs a game. And in that case, I mean, who really cares? It doesn't really matter because you're going to win most of the time anyway with how electric that offense was. You don't have that this year. You got to win with 4 runs. In that one, you would have had to win with 6? Tennessee 5, whatever Tennessee put up in that one. And so you can't just have guys running on you like that, and then you compound on top of that the fielding mistakes. If you try to gun a guy down, they'll throw it over the second baseman's head. Fisher has a tough time catching at first base. Whatever the heck happens, it just is a comedy of errors that compounds, and it just is tough. But I would almost say this, kind of to what I was just saying, I don't even really see the downfall of this team the way that it's happened. It's almost not even really a pitching issue. Tegan Kuhn's, it's not great, but Tegan Kuhn's was good yesterday. I don't really know why Vitello pulled him when he did. I mean, he gave up a home run or two, but he was really putting some of his best stuff out there. Pulled him like 50 pitches in or something. I was like, why? Because going to the bullpen is a total crapshoot this year. I mean, Dylan Loy has looked awesome, and then sometimes he gets hammered, and then Snead is falling off. We talked about that with Will Heflin, and it's just a crapshoot going to the bullpen. But the pitching overall, you should be able. This doesn't sound great, but the truth is, the way that Tony Vitello coaches, you should be able to beat Vandy when they score 6 runs. Period. That's the way that this team has played during Vitello's time, ever since they got good players in, since 2020, whenever that initially happened, where he started really getting dudes. You should be Vandy when Vandy scores 6 runs. You should. Last year, some of those series, like that Sunday win at Kentucky, how much did Tennessee have to have in that game? Like 14 runs? Well, they could do that. And you cannot do that this season. And so the defense has to be better, so it becomes a pitching problem, even though it's really a problem at the plate. It's just, oh, man, it's tough. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, and Will mentioned, to borrow Butch Jones' term, it's complementary baseball, right? And all those things kind of compound because, when you're not controlling the running game, and especially for Phillips, it's something you have to do. If you want to play at the next level, you have to be able to do that. Like, you
Yep.
will not pitch in the big leagues, maybe as a reliever in certain situations when it doesn't really matter that much. But if you can't control the running game, a single, like you said, turns into a double or a triple, right? Guys on second, suddenly you're a bloop away. You can make a good pitch. You can jam a guy and the ball, falls into a hole in right field, and you've given up a run all because you didn't hold that down first base. And you can't throw out every runner, right? Like, sometimes they're just going to get you, but you have to start there. The errors obviously can make that worse too. And then not hitting with runners in scoring position. I mean, that's the most frustrating thing, I think, for any baseball fan of any team is, and every team goes through those stretches at some point, but it always, to me, feels like you're just trying to do too much. Like, somebody's coming up and they're like, I'm going to be the guy. Like, this is my chance. And they try to force it. I don't know if they're trying to hit the ball to the, out of the park like we thought Peoples was last night, or what the deal is. Like, they're just trying too hard instead of sometimes just move the runner over. Maybe you find the hole and that ball gets, past the first baseman into right field because you went the other way with it to try to hit behind the runner. And just simple things like that. Like, they're trying to do too much, it feels like. And they're going up there, looking for a result instead of just competing and letting whatever happens. And that's when Tennessee teams have been at their best, when they've played that way under Vitello. And usually they do. And that's what's been so weird about this team is they started out that season playing that way. And it really does feel like, to me, like that Texas A&M series, the way they won that Friday night, when it felt like that was the moment where they felt like they could not be touched. And A&M responded. They hit them in the mouth the next game, the next two games, right? And ever since then, this has not been the same Tennessee team at all. And losing at home the way they have makes it even more frustrating. Was it 4 straight series losses at home? I mean, and some of these games have been right there too. Like, they've had opportunities to win some of these games if you just get that one hit, if you can just close out that one inning. And so they're not that far away. I mean, that's the reason I still, my overall take is that I have confidence that this team can still get hot and advance. I don't know how far. It's impossible to predict what's going to happen in Omaha, right? Like, you really don't know. But when this team has played at their best, which they've done a month ago, 6 weeks ago, right? Like, not that long ago, there was nobody in the country that was touching them at that point. So, I mean, they have that in them. What do they have to do to find that? Like, Tony Vitello talked about it being a confidence thing. These guys are thinking too much. I mean, it's all the stuff that we know that baseball is all about, right? It's the mental grind. You get in these slumps and you try to force your way out of it. And you just can't. Like, it just has to happen. And they have to have that moment. Will was on with us last week, Will Heflin, talking about, they need something to rally behind. And they really do. And it has to happen organically, though. That's the thing, is you can't force that either. It has to be something that just happens. I was hoping last night against Vanderbilt it would be that moment where we had given up, right? Like, we're texting, we're like, this is over. Again, that before the ninth inning, like, this game is done. And they had a chance with guys on base there to maybe make something happen. And they hit a couple of balls well. They just maybe a little bit off the end of the bat. Just didn't get enough on it, type thing. Hit it sharply out to the center fielder or something. And you thought maybe if they could come through there, maybe that would be what sparks this team. And now you're going to have to go into this Arkansas series hoping for the same thing on the road, which makes it even more difficult.
I mean, I feel like the story of the season is almost that Blake Grimmer hit. You're what, 5 feet from walking off Vandy. They caught it in the track. And last year, last 3 years, that's a home run. You walk Vandy off. That's how that would have gone the last 3 years.
You expected it, yeah.
Exactly. He launched that off the bat, and my mentality from having watched Vitello for all these years right now was just like, oh, finally they did it. And then they catch it at the warning track, and you're like, oh, well, of course. That's the way this. Sorry, I forgot it's 2025. My bad. I'm sorry. And that's kind of the story of the season. It's like you are right there. There hasn't been any series that I've watched where I see it anywhere close to like how, you used to watch Tennessee play Vandy in 2017 and you went, okay, this is men playing boys. This is just
Yeah.
ugly. Like these guys should not be playing on the same baseball field. It's nothing even remotely close to anything like that. In fact, I would say pound for pound at the top end of everyone's ability, I think you have a better baseball team than Vandy does. I think you have a better baseball team than Auburn. I think you have a better baseball team than Texas A&M. Well, it's actually kind of tough to say with Texas A&M because seemingly with their roster, they should have maybe the best team in the sport.
They've been through some of the same stuff, honestly. I mean, they're and that's college baseball in a nutshell. But you're right. Tennessee has not been outclassed.
No,
I mean, they're right there.
Yeah, it's just so it's been so strange. And that's probably the toughest part. GBO says, taking off my bias blinders, I don't think this team makes it out of the super regionals. At the moment, I agree.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, based on what we've seen.
Yeah. But I would also say, realistically speaking, you are Gavin Keelan going back to his early season form away from a super regional. And I think you're Gavin Keelan coming back to his early season form and Levi Clark doing the same away from the College World Series. I think it's Keelan bringing back the power in that leadoff spot. I think Fisher and Inslee could stay kind of the same. Maybe Reese Chapman, somebody down the lineup also getting that hot streak again. Because if you look back at last year, maybe the biggest thing with that entire lineup, I mean, obviously, you had the best dude in the sport, and Christian Moore, just hammering the baseball every time he stepped up to the plate. But at the same time, it was Dylan Dreiling. I mean, it was a guy down the lineup making clutch. You were down 0-1 late into that second game in the College World Series final, and Dylan Dreiling hits a 2-run homer because he was just that clutch guy that came through in that moment when nobody else was. And you have completely lost anything like that, and you've lost Gavin Keelan, who was your star hitter. Like, it's just all after his injury, he has not been the same. So if he went back to early season form, and yeah, like a Reese Chapman, one of these young guys, somebody has a surge here. That's a College World Series team. Your pitching's good enough. Like I said, I mean, I don't even really look at it as that much of a pitching issue here, because you got the best dude in the sport on your Friday. You have Marcus Phillips, who's pretty good, but he's letting everybody run on him. And then Sunday's a toss-up, but Sunday was a toss-up Sunday was a complete toss-up last year.
Sunday's kind of always a toss-up at this level.
Exactly. Thankfully, you had Xander Seacrest, who pulled your iron out of the fire a few times last year, but he didn't look that way all season. In a lot of those spots, you were probably feeling pretty similar pitching-wise to the way you do on Sundays now.
For sure.
And I don't think you're that far away pitching, and I think you're 2-3 guys getting their groove back in the batting lineup from College World Series. This team cannot reach anywhere around the height of that team last year. I mean, it's one of the greatest seasons in the history of sport. That's not going to happen. But College World Series, just wake up. But can they do that? At the moment, if you're asking me, no, I don't think they're going to. But you never know. Baseball's a weird game.
Yeah, I mean, if you get into a nice spot in the regional, you get the host. If you got Liam Doyle, you have that ace. That's huge, right? Like, that's huge in a series, in a postseason play. It's almost like you can count on that game right there. And when you have that, it feels like anything's possible. But I think when you talk about Christian Moore, that to me is the whole thing about this team. And it's not just his bat in the lineup; it's his presence on the team. Yep. When you had that guy, it felt like he just instilled confidence in everybody else. Like, there was just this belief, like, we are going to come through. And they just followed his lead because of we saw it so many times throughout that postseason, the confidence he had. It was like he felt no pressure, and that made everybody else feel no pressure. And even in those tough moments where it looked like their season was over, they were still able to come through because of that. And that just rubbed off on everybody. And I feel like they're trying to create that at this point. Like, you had that moment with Fisher on Sunday when he hits that home run early in the game and he's going crazy around the bases. And it's like, it felt like too much in that moment. And I love the emotion that baseball players have in college. I'm a fan of it. And when you give it, you got to take it too. So I have no no issue with Vanderbilt what they did after the game, right? Like you would kind of expect that if it was the other way around from Tennessee, if it was an emotional game. Like that's fine. Like that's just guys out there competing, but I think you got to be smart with it, and something like that is just going to fire up the other team in those moments. You got a lot of game left to play on a Sunday, and what first couple of innings there, don't fire the other team up like that. It just wasn't the right time for that, and it felt like last season, they kind of knew when to pick their moments. I don't know, maybe I'm making too much of that, but I felt like that's something that's just a sign of this team trying a little too hard to force something that's not there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Big Papa says maybe the scuffle after the game will get them going. There's been multiple moments this season, just in this late stretch here, where I was like, oh, that's the thing that will bring a spark. Last week against Auburn, that weird middle game, you win in extra innings, really exciting. You get a walk off from a freshman, and it just is a cool, strange moment that ended up happening. I went, that's the spark. It's about to start. Here we go. And they came out and just sucked. They were terrible. So I wish that's what would happen, but they haven't instilled any confidence in me that they have that sort of juice to build momentum. Like they don't build momentum at all. Like at all, it feels like for some reason. It doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, Ben Hall, yeah, he's trying to put it in perspective, says, think about what we're saying. This team is comfortably in the tournament following a national championship. They haven't fallen off like Mississippi State. Mississippi State fell off like that. Ole Miss fell off like that. That's true.
Yeah,
That's definitely true.
It's tough to sustain success.
LSU fell off.
Yeah, I mean that's why I've seen a lot of takes about Tony Vitello, and I don't. I still think Tony Vitello is the best coach in the sport. There's only so much you can do, and I think we've established that this is a mental problem. It's a confidence problem. You have talent. I mean, the guys are out there trying, right? Like everybody out there wants to win. You come to Tennessee to win. Like you don't, you recruit guys that want to win games, and there's guys out there that are playing selfless. They're playing in positions that they aren't used to playing necessarily because, I mean, that's just the nature of the sport. You got to go where you're needed. And he's moving things around, trying to mix things up with the lineup, with playing guys, moving guys around. Like he's trying different things to see what works. Ultimately, it's like he said, confidence is a choice, and you've got to make that choice. But it's not like a switch that you can flip, right? Like it's a really hard thing. That's why you see guys go in slumps, and in the profession, MLB level, you see guys doing a slump for a whole year, and all of a sudden the next year they're a completely different guy. Like it's a weird sport, so there's only so much Vitello can do, I think, and I think Ben's right. Like they're still in a position to make the tournament. This is still a postseason team. Just because it's not up to last season's level or what we've seen in the past doesn't mean that something's broken. It's just this particular group of players is not quite jailed when faced with adversity like you would expect or like you would hope.
I mean, what did we say? All in the latter half of last season. Baseball is all about the vibes. It's all vibes. This team has no vibes. They got vibes on Friday because of Liam Doyle.
Mm-hmm.
Liam Doyle gives them vibes, and then they lose it the next 2 days. Like it just doesn't feel right. You can sort of tell. You just sense they're kind of tight and not confident, and just there's something about it. They don't have. They have guys that could be emotional leaders, like an Andrew Fisher, but he doesn't pair it well enough with like clutch hitting and things like that. Like you said, with Christian Moore, he had that emotional leadership, and then he went out and hit the most clutch hits you've ever seen. And it was all of that made it such a special mix. I do kind of like suggestions like this. Penny says Phillips needs to be a closer, not a starter. It does kind of feel that way. Like his general style. Although that, I don't know, the superheater guys, like that's the way that it's going in college baseball now.
Everybody throws 97.
Kirby Cannell is going the way of the dodo bird. Like that's just not.
But imagine if you had that guy. I mean,
yeah,
that's such a bizarre thing to me, right? Like Kirby Cannell would never play at the next level, right? Like he's just not. But then he gets future MLB players out at the collegiate level. It's the most bizarre thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, when you pair him up against guys who are just throwing nothing but high heat, and then you bring in his off-speed stuff, it's going to throw you off a little bit. but I'll tell you something that I don't think you would see last year that's a real sign of the times for this Tennessee team. In no way would you have seen Vitello kind of let's be honest, this is a desperation move of sorts, putting in freshmen for a Reese Chapman. Last year, what was the equivalent of that last year? Billy Amick, man. He had a terrible stretch during the season last year. I remember us texting and being like, why is Amick even playing in this baseball game right now? Like, he could not freaking put a baseball bat on a baseball. It was terrible. But Vitello rode with him. But this year, Vitello's like, look, Reese, you're not getting anything. We got it. We're going to put in some freshmen. These guys, Grimmer has mashed in midweeks, and there's no doubt about it. He almost won you the game in that Vandy game. And so I like it in this spot where you're really up against it, and Vitello's just like, look, we got to do something. I'm sorry, Reese, you're my guy, but I gotta do something here. You would not have seen that a year ago. So Tony's trying, but speaking of Blake Grimmer, though, what the heck was that bunt in the Sunday game? I don't question Tony Vitello almost ever in anything. The man has won a national championship. He's put together some of the best teams in the history of this sport. But what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't. Anytime you're bunting, you're playing for one run in that situation. Basically, you're giving up an out to try to get a guy, in the scoring position there where you can get that one run across. And clearly, you need to put up crooked numbers. Like, you need big innings at this point as these SEC weekend series. And when that's the case, I never like the idea of giving an out away, especially in college, man. Because you just never know. Like, we've seen guys bottom of the lineup come through, hit big home runs, and have big hits, and it feels like you could be anybody at any time type of situation. And that's such a situational thing, and I didn't love it either. And maybe Vitello's pressing at times himself, just trying to get something going, like you said. I don't know. It was an odd decision, and he's the college baseball coach. He's done this a lot more than we have, obviously, and has won a national championship. So I'm not calling the guy an idiot by any means, but that was a decision that you look at and like, I think you would like to have that one back, maybe, if you're being honest with yourself. But it is what it is.
He's overthinking it at this point. That's what that felt like. That move where he just went, "What are we doing? Why don't overthink this?" As you said, it's college ball. It's not pro. Just you don't need to be cute in that spot, like
especially on a Sunday. And it's like Will told us when he was with us last week, is like that Sunday game is the game where everybody's been playing, and you kind of expect that to be the higher scoring game. So outs are valuable in those games.
Yep. It's tough. Well, you got to go to Arkansas this week, and
it's like Thursday, right?
Yes. And I tweeted out yesterday, I hate it, but as much as Vitello's teams have looked like absolute magic for years on end now, it just feels like you're going to go in there and get swept this weekend. Arkansas has not had their best season either. Kind of every team at the top of the sport so far this year has sort of risen up, fallen off, risen up. Texas looked unbeatable, and then Arkansas sweeps them. And then Arkansas at the beginning of the season, they looked nearly unbeatable, and then they had a really bad stretch where they lost like 3 or 4 series. And it just, everybody's been kind of up and down. So I don't look at Arkansas and just go like, oh man, they're going to outman you in every single way. But they're just, again, it's a vibes-based sport. They got more vibes than you do right now. Although they lost the series to LSU over the weekend, I think. I think your best bet is winning game 1, and then after that, just holding on for dear life, seeing what you can do. But it is an opportunity, though.
Mm-hmm.
Playing at Arkansas has been a house of horrors for you. Have they even won there in the Vitello era? I don't think they have. Playing Arkansas in general, if Vitello hasn't gone super well, where he came from.
Yeah, it ends up being kind of chippy usually.
Right. But you could beat these guys. Long story short. And you beat them, give yourself some momentum. But again, I hate that I have to say it, but they haven't done anything with momentum all season long. So even if you do win 2 games, I'm not exactly looking forward to the SEC tournament and going, oh, well, they've got it figured out. It's done. I got to see more than 2 games stacked on top of each other. But let's be real. You win 2 games. I think if you sweep crazily, if you sweep,
oh boy,
if you did, you would again be right on the edge of probably a top 8 seed.
Yeah.
Weirdly, you'd flash right back up there. But let's say that's not a real possibility. Just be looking at winning at least 1. I think you're hosting if you win 1. You're top 16, and then win 2 to build some momentum. That'd be nice, but it just feels like a lot to anything more than 1 win right now. Makes me ill to say that, but I think that's where you're at.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Win 1, you got to win 1. You can't get swept. You get swept, you're playing on the road.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think if you can win this series, that would you would conquer something there. Winning a series in Fayetteville, you go into the SEC tournament with some momentum, see what happens, type of deal. I think you would really just exit the season and kind of erase everything that's happened because you had such a strong start, right? You'd have that belief like, okay, we're back on track. This is who we are. That would be your mindset, I think, going into the SEC tournament if you can somehow win this series against Arkansas. It's tough. Thursday's a must-win. With Doyle on the mound, that's one that you absolutely have to win. If you lose that game, it's Panic City, I think.
Yep. We'll see. I mean, I'm still hopeful because it's Tony Vitello. I mean, we've seen the guy 2023. You were playing better at the end of the regular season than you are right now. But in 2023, you went to the SEC tournament and got your butt handed to you. And then you made the College World Series. So, it's you can have an up and down season like this, still find yourself in Omaha. As I'm saying, you're a Gavin Keelan heater away from something special right now. So,
and the good thing about it, if you somehow make it to Omaha, the Paul Skeens ain't out there this year, right?
Right.
Closest thing you might have the closest thing in Liam Doyle. So it's
you have that guy.
This feels like one of those years where I have no clue who's going to win this thing. I mean, you could say that in a lot of years just because that's what the nature of college baseball. But there's not a favorite going into this thing. I don't think. Yeah, regardless of who's ranked where, anything could happen.
No. So we will see. And there's that for baseball. We do have to talk a little bit about Vol football. Not much has gone on. Thankfully, no more fleeing into the transfer portal because guys can't. The transfer portal is closed. Mercifully, that's ended. But you do have Joey Aguilar, the quarterback that you traded UCLA for. You sent Nico out there. Aguilar comes here, and he showed up reportedly on Monday. I guess I didn't see the man with my own 2 eyes, but he was supposed to be in Knoxville today for his first appearance on campus. Graduated from Appalachian State, and congratulations to him on that. And I'll say this about that situation. It's weird. Everybody kind of knows the whole thing has just been goofy, and it is what it is with Nico. That guy has burned every bridge that he's walked on, and hey, more power to you, I guess, if that's how you want to live. But with Joey in this situation, if he comes in and fully embraces this thing and let's be completely honest, if he's gonna be your guy, he has to be from whenever 10 a.m. this morning or whenever he got here, he's got to be nose in the playbook, watching every bit of tape, doing every single thing he can until about midnight, every single night until the day the season starts. Like, it's got to be complete immersion and dedication and putting your all behind it. Not to put, I mean, can I even put undue pressure on this kid? There is no pressure.
I don't know. I think you did a pretty good job of maybe.
I as much as you probably could put pressure on this kid, I guess I am, But realistically speaking, I say that to say, if he does that, he's in such a cool position. Is if I can put a silver lining on that whole situation, he's in such a cool position because if he goes out there and balls out for Tennessee, he'll be a legend,
Oh
such a
yeah.
beloved figure in the history of Tennessee sports. Or if Merklinger does it, if Merklinger ends up being your starter and he has a legendary season after the stunt that Nico pulled, no matter who it is, it's an unbelievable opportunity. But I'm excited for the kid. I hope he does embrace it.
I hope so too. Yeah, I don't know what to expect with this battle. We'll see because we don't know much about Joey Aguilar. I mean, it's very similar to Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton and that whole situation coming in 2021. And because of that, I've kind of had this take that I think Heupel should take the 2004 Philip Fulmer approach and just kind of go into this season not with a set guy, because I think they did that in 21 with Joe Milton, and we heard Alex Drolish say last year, the year before, when he was at USF, it's like we thought we knew who the guy was, and we were wrong about it. Like he admitted, like they made their own call based on fall camp, and we've seen plenty of times like practice doesn't always tell you who the best player is. We saw it with Josh Dobbs. I mean, we saw Dobbs in practice at times, and I remember seeing him when he was a true freshman in 2013 at practices, and he looked worse. He was by far the worst quarterback out there. I mean, Nathan Peterman looked great. Justin Worley looked great. Dobbs did not look good at all, and then he ended up being the best quarterback on that roster, and it really wasn't even close once he got in games. And Hendon Hooker obviously proved to be your best option when you thought that he wasn't. You saw him in games, and then there he was. He was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year in 2022. So part of me thinks you go into this season, and if you come out of fall camp and you think, okay, Aguilar's the guy, maybe he takes off against Syracuse, and if he does and never looks back, then so be it. But I don't think you go and you just stick with him and say, okay, he went these first 3 series of the game, we got nothing. Let's see what Merklinger can do. Maybe you put him in there and all of a sudden he's the stud, or maybe vice versa. Maybe you come out of fall camp thinking Merklinger's the guy and it's Aguilar, or maybe George McIntyre surprises everybody. I think you've got to be open to giving some guys a chance to play in games based on just what we've seen with quarterback battles over the years, and knowing that you might have the answer on the bench, and then you don't want to wait till week 6 before that guy gets an opportunity, and now suddenly the whole fan base, and we're on here talking about like, why didn't you give that guy a shot against Syracuse, or something early in the season? So it's a tough spot for Heupel, and that's tough to manage too. I don't know if you can manage it in this era. Certainly, it's a lot different than it was when Philip Fulmer did it with Brent Schaefer and Eric Ainge back in 04, and he made that decision over a couple of transfers and Rick Clausen and CJ Leak. That was a different time and all that, but he didn't know who the guy should be, right? And Schaefer started the season, and then it ends up being Eric Ainge that's your best option until he gets hurt against Notre Dame. And maybe that's the situation this year, maybe it's not. We won't know until they take the field. But I think being open to that sort of setup would, I don't know, maybe prevent you from leaving the right guy on the bench. And maybe you figure it out from the get-go, and maybe you do choose the right guy. I don't know. Like it's impossible to know, but I just hate the idea of somebody going out there and struggling in that first start and the second guy never getting a chance.
Yeah, we have seen a little bit of a proclivity with Heupel where he's sort of a my way or the highway guy, specifically with the system. I mean, I think he's been dedicated to running it to a fault. We've talked about, hey, maybe when it's not working, you might need to switch things up. We get it. It's worked a lot for you. The 22 season, awesome stuff. When it really works, it's incredible. But he's been dedicated to what he does, and I think if this offseason teaches you anything, if you're Heupel, it kind of has to be, you got to be flexible in this thing.
Yeah.
With the way the transfer portal is right now, you got to expect the unexpected. You got to just roll with it. You have to expect that you're re-recruiting every single guy on your roster, always, all the time, year round. I would say I don't envy him in that way. But you get paid the big bucks for a reason. And I think it's going to take some reinvention, and I think it's going to take some, like you're saying, would the right word be innovation, and just sort of going, hey, we're gonna roll with what works here. Maybe should I say take a page out of Jeremy Pruitt's playbook and just go with whatever quarterback feels right. What in that which season was it? Was it 18 or whichever one where he played like 5 different dudes? Some of that was out of necessity. There were injuries and things, but
everybody got a shot, basically.
everybody played.
Throwing Harrison Bailey out there against Florida, I think, in his first career start. I mean, Butch, I think, did the same thing with Peterman and Florida in 2013 or 14. But yeah, it's don't do that. Don't wait till Georgia in week 3.
I joke a little bit there.
I think it's week 3. Yeah, Georgia. Like, you want to know exactly who your guy is by Georgia for sure. Yeah, so that's why. Yeah, and it's tricky. I wish you did open against Chattanooga again, but maybe being against the better. I mean, that gave us some false security about who Tennessee was last season. Playing an NC State and all those teams early in the season. Maybe playing against the Syracuse, a team you should beat. If you get good quarterback play, maybe that's a good thing because it won't be just easy, throw whoever out there.
It does concern me, though, the history with Joe Milton, where he not only started Joe Milton, but really stuck with him until he got injured, and Hendon made it 100% clear you're not going to play anybody but him. That concerns me a little bit. And maybe Heupel's grown since then, and fair enough. But that will certainly be in the back of my mind almost no matter what, unless it's Aguilar and he comes out and he's playing like Johnny Manziel. I mean, outside of that possibility, you're going to have people second guessing your situation. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny around the situation because of the nature of it. There's going to be a lot of, how's Nico playing? Oh, Nico gets to go and play freaking Northwest Tech State over in the Big Ten. And with like Joey Aguilar gets to go play Georgia in week 4 or something like that. No big difference there, nothing at all. But there's gonna be a big light on it all year. But I also think I kind of get the feeling, I've listened to a lot of national guys talk about the situation. Sort of get the feeling a lot of people are kind of rooting for Aguilar to succeed. I don't know they're rooting for Tennessee in general, because so many of those guys hate Tennessee with every ounce of their being, but they're kind of like, hey, it would be cool if this guy had a good season. Like that would be a neat story. It'd be fun, interesting for the sport. So yeah,
he's kind of, I think the setup, if you take the Nico stuff out of it, right, and this was just a situation going into the season, I like the setup of the fact that you've got this competition. It's going to bring out the best in everybody. You haven't had a competition since 21, really, with Milton and Hooker and whoever else, Harrison Bailey, whoever else was there at the time. 22, it's Hooker, right? 23, it's Milton. Like, there was never a doubt in your mind who it was. 24, it's Nico. Like, it's always been super settled. And there's just quarterbacks have been at ease, right? And now you're going in, looking over your shoulder. You got to play better than the other guy. If Aguilar wants to win this job, he's got to play better than Merklinger. Merklinger does have experience. He's got to play better than the guy with experience. And McIntyre's sitting there like, I got a shot. Like, I might be the most talented guy of this group. If I play well, I've got a shot here to maybe force my way in here. So you've got a real quarterback competition. It's going to bring out the best in everybody. And Aguilar is a guy that he's kind of that Cam Ward story. And I'm not comparing him to Cam Ward. I haven't watched enough of the guy to play. He's not the number 1 overall draft pick, but he's had to fight for everything he's had, right? Like, he's had to work his way up through, going to App State and then trying to get into the Big Ten and going to UCLA, getting forced out there, trying to take an opportunity, make the best of an opportunity at Tennessee. He's kind of got that mentality of like, I've got to go earn this, and like nothing's going to be given to me. And I think Merklinger might have a little bit of that too, because signing with Tennessee was a choice. I mean, we've talked about this before. Nico is on the roster. McIntyre's committed. The future plans, right, that Tennessee's had. They're going after Faison Brandon early. Like, you're surrounded by a group of really talented quarterbacks, and he still chose to come to Tennessee. Like, he could have went elsewhere, got a check. He was a highly rated, high 4-star guy. He could have gone a lot of other places and probably been guaranteed playing time, and he chose this spot. So he's kind of got that fight in him as well. So I like the mentality of the quarterback room, and that we'll see where it goes, but that gives me some confidence that one of these guys can step up and be a really good player in the SEC.
It's a really interesting situation. Genuinely, McIntyre is definitely not getting talked about enough because he, realistically speaking, he probably has the highest ceiling out of all three guys. I think you kind of saw that in the spring game, at least between him and Merklinger, of course. That, as I said, realistically speaking, he has the most future upside, however you want to say that. Aguilar would be the coolest story. Merklinger would still be a cool story in his own right. Stepping up in Nico's stead and stuff like that. It's gonna be kind of fascinating. Genuinely, I hate the situation that it emerged out of. That whole stupid thing didn't have to happen, but it did. Here you are, and why not go and embrace it? That would be very cool. Sam in the comments, he says, I know we'll open eyes if our defense shuts down Syracuse and we roll them by 30. I think that's likely. I will say it scares me a little bit with that game in this scenario. This is what happened with NC State this year. I mean, you annihilated them. And then it turned out that NC State was kind of, booty. And it wasn't complete fool's gold. You were definitely way better than NC State, and there was something to that because you went and beat Oklahoma a couple weeks after that. But
that NC State game was definitely fool's gold because if you remember early in that game, I know the final score got out of hand big time in the second half, but the first quarter of that game was tight. It was that pick six, I believe. That was it. Will Brooks.
Yes.
Yeah, that really turned that around, and that game was not going. We weren't feeling good about that game early on. And then kind of once that happened, NC State just fell apart. And I think we all kind of knew like that game could have been closer than it really was, especially in retrospect after we watched Tennessee the rest of the season. So that game was definitely fool's gold.
I could just see, you just have a marked talent advantage over them. And Aguilar, he looked pretty good. Your wide receivers looked good. Defense looked good. Well, you're playing in Syracuse, they got a respectable thing going.
They're well coached. I like their coach,
yes,
Brown.
Yes. So you better not be overlooking it, but I could see a scenario where you do run away with that game and then it ends up they're not actually that good. We'll talk about that when we get closer to the season.
I wish Georgia was not September.
I know.
And I don't know how good Georgia's going to be either. I mean, Georgia's not 21 Georgia, 22 Georgia, but they're still Georgia. They're still, one of the top teams in the SEC. And we'll see what their quarterback situation is. But sometimes the SEC schedule is really a drag when you really think about all the landmines that are on it.
No kidding. I mean, that really does stink that that's such an early season game. But Ben says, Merklinger pressuring the team for a new deal after Nico left and before ever taking a snap isn't cool.
I mean, I agree, but at the same time, it's like it's the nature of the sport. And
right.
What are you going to do? Like, everybody's doing it. You got to, unless you're Arch Manning, I mean, everybody is doing it. And Arch Manning is such an outlier that you can't even really compare his situation to anyone else's. That's a very unique deal that Steve Sarkisian just fell into there. But it's an odd thing about the sport, and it's something we've talked about a lot. You've got to figure out a way to get this under control and get some contracts in place that are multi-year, and maybe there's some options and some incentives. I don't know the answer, but the players have all the leverage right now, and if you do it smart, Nico could have got himself a nice $600,000 raise or something, likely, if they would have played it the right way. If you do it the smart way and you utilize your leverage, but you don't overplay your hand, you can easily get, a few $100,000 extra or whatever the going rate is. Nobody knows because nobody talks about it, but it's just, that's the nature of the deal. It's a business. And when ESPN and the program or the schools are earning millions and millions and millions on the product, you as a player, you feel like, hey, I should get a small, tiny chunk extra here. And it's, when you think about it like that, it's kind of hard to blame them.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, do I love it? No. if you told me that happened a few years ago, I'd roll my eyes and be like, okay, yeah, great. But now, with the way that the game has gone, the way that I always kind of say it is, if I was in his shoes and I had an agent probably in my ear saying whatever these agents are saying, if his agent's worth a crap, he's probably leaning up and going, hey, you can get some extra money here because it's 100% true. Tennessee would probably do that just out of good faith to go like, hey, buddy, thanks for sticking around, thanks for being cool, and here's a little extra coin. I would do the same thing if I was him. I 100% I'd do the same thing. And I'm born and raised in Tennessee, love Tennessee, everything all the time. But I would go, hey, this situation is crazy, and there's a lot of options on the table. It's time to it's time to raise the stakes a little bit, because it just that's the way that it is in today's game. So I like it? No. Can I hate him for it? Absolutely not.
I will say, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know, and this is speculation, as we don't really know how any of these negotiations worked, but I wonder how much leverage he really did have this time of year, because I don't know what he was earning, but would another school have paid him at this time of year, right after spring practice, whatever he was, more than what he was getting at Tennessee, to come obviously be a backup? I mean, you're not going to, unless you're in a situation like Tennessee was, or UCLA, who saw the nice shiny new object out there and went and got it in Nico. Unless you're in that situation where you've lost your quarterback because of that, and you need a guy, and you saw how hard it was for Tennessee to get a guy, and they were willing to pay guys, how aggressive would another school have been in pursuing Mertlinger? So, I mean, you probably could have called his bluff and been okay there, but I think I agree with you. It's kind of like a good faith thing. Like, okay, like we get it. Here's a little extra.
Yeah. I would just say it is what it is. And I mean, Ben says that same thing. Why would a school pay?
Yeah, exactly.
When he hasn't taken a step. I agree. And Tennessee could have called his bluff and said, hey, we got another guy now from UCLA. You can go ahead and take a hike. And
who knows? We don't know. We don't know the negotiation. I mean, maybe Tennessee was being proactive in that. Yeah. Maybe they're looking down the road because, they got to think about beyond the 25 season too. You got Faison coming in. Aguilar will be gone, right? He's only got 1 year of eligibility left. You got Mertlinger and McIntyre hanging around, and Faison. You need guys in the room. You can't have a thin quarterback room. How are you going to maintain that? And I think that process has to start now. So maybe that's part of it too. And I hope that is, because you've got to be proactive in this stuff. If that's one thing we've learned over the last month or 6 months or whatever throughout this NIL journey, it's that you have to be proactive, or you're really setting yourself up to be in a tough spot.
You definitely are. I think that as far as football goes, I don't know if you have anything else, Zach, but we can wrap it up. Just a couple of honorable mentions with basketball, but anything else with football?
Yeah, I think we got all the juice out of the lemon when it comes to football stuff in the middle of May.
Yeah, we got to save. We'll got to keep some stuff in the back room for the weeks coming up here. We'll finish with this basketball. We didn't get to talk about it last week because of our special guest, Will Heflin, talking about the untimely downfall of Tennessee baseball. But basketball team picked up Clarence Masamba out of Europe. An interesting pickup, but you filled your guard spot, and now you kind of have a roster, and it's interesting, but probably the most fascinating thing to watch going forward is that 5th year decision that could come down, and if Gainey and Ziegler could come back, and what might happen there, because there are decisions that are coming up that would expand roster sizes, allow guys to come back for a 5th year with impunity, and so then you'd have the spots for Gainey and Zakai. You kind of have a guy that replaced Zakai, which that would be an interesting part of that situation if that happened. But Gainey, I think you'd welcome back with open arms, even though you got a couple guys to fill that spot. I like those pickups. Not a ton to say about it until I think the big talking point is going to be if that 5th-year decision comes down. But as of right now, I think you have a roster that's top 15 in America. Hopefully better if everything comes into form. And hey, I at this point, I don't know that you can ask a ton more out of Rick Barnes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be fun to get Gainey back. I think that's if any of it does happen, I think that'd probably be the most likely candidate to come back. Just because, like you said, that with the way the roster's set up with Ziegler, that would be that might be a tough thing to work out there. As much as you would love to see him in a Tennessee uniform again, and then you got an NIL, angle there as well. Because if Gainey's coming back, he ain't playing for free, nor should he. So you'd have to figure that out and fit that in the budget as well. And that's something we've talked about. Adam Sparks wrote about it in the Knoxville News Sentinel today. It's like how much longer can you afford to be in everything school, because baseball players are wanting more and more as that becomes a more high profile program, and basketball, we've seen some of the numbers. It's right in line with what football players are getting paid. So it's a lot of money you're having to commit to just these 3 sports on top of any other sports to keep them competing for national championships. Lady Vols as well. I mean, that's a program that you want to see take a big step forward this season, and it looks like they're probably going to, with the way Kim Caldwell's recruiting and the start that she got off to last season. So all that comes into play when you're talking about a guy like Gainey coming back. But obviously, I think they would find a way to make that work.
Oh yeah, and he, as you're saying there, his value on the open market would be high. Very high in Gainey.
I don't think he'd be the type to, because of his situation, his dad. I don't see him as the type of guy that's going to try to leverage Tennessee to get. I think that's something that would be a clean process. But yeah, his value is there for sure.
Oh, he would be a 7-figure player on the open market in my opinion. The way that he was playing down the stretch for Tennessee, and specifically the way he played in clutch spots and the big shots he made for you, I mean, that's so valuable. So I very much hope it happens, because as Sam says here, if Gainey comes back, we're a top 5 team. Barnes is so high on native mint,
which means more than any coach being high on a player has ever meant, in my opinion, just because he's never high on young players. So
no, the way he is hyping that kid up. Speaking of undue pressure being put on somebody, I mean, they're talking like that guy is going to be very special, and I'm excited to see it. I've said it on this show. I mean, go watch his tape. I think the kid is going to be very special. So you have some real potential here, and Gainey would truly round all of that out. And if they found a way to work Zakai back in, I mean, all the better. I just find it hard. Gillespie is a really talented guy that put up stats similar to Zakai last year. So we'll see. I mean, as much as I love Zakai Ziegler, he's one of my. I even said, I think I even tweeted at one point, he is my favorite player in Tennessee basketball history, or very close to it. Like, just such a legend at this point. But you would have to be realistic about that situation.
Yeah. So. And I mean, look, Zakai had some flaws to his game. He wasn't a perfect player, right? Like, I mean, obviously getting to the basket was a problem at times. The fouls were problematic at times. So, you got to look at it that way too. And that's not taking anything away from Zakai, but, I think you can move forward and still be really good at that position.
Yep. He just straight up, he had physical limitations. He just was not tall enough to finish at the rim, and Gillespie is. So, hey, there's that, and they're putting out a documentary about Zakai, which I'm very, very excited about. They posted a promo. Tennessee Athletics did. Definitely going to be watching that. That's a show. Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan. Pray for Tennessee baseball. Whatever you have to do. Just something. Somebody do something, please. Anybody, whether it's guys on the team, whether it's God, whether it's just the baseball vibes in the universe. Please come and lift these guys and make something happen here. We need it. We need it bad. The season is coming to a close. All right. There you go. That is the show. Thank you so much to everybody for watching, for tuning in. for commenting. I see everybody. Jeff, Tim, Sam, Ben, Penny, David, Frank, GBO, Bill, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, being part of this show. We could not do it without you, as I always say. All right. That is all. We will be back next week, hopefully talking about a series win over Arkansas, maybe. I'm not counting my chickens, though. All right. We will talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.